So this morning, I'm going to give you some scriptures that will help you unlock, I don't know if you call them secrets, but make a way for you to understand scripture um, in the book of Revelation better. You always have to use the words of the prophets to understand it more clearly. I'm going to give you a wonderful example. Folks, if you need to record, download, save any or all of my videos, do it. I don't charge anybody anything. Truth is free. Lies are expensive. Okay? I need you to understand that as well. But I want to go ahead and start in Daniel 7. And in verse 2, Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea. What is the great sea? It talks about beasts coming out of the great sea. What on earth is the great sea? So here's what I did. Now, folks, don't completely rely on AI, because AI, artificial intelligence, is like a GPS. It can take you to the correct destination, but sometimes it'll lead you to the wrong destination, okay? So here's what I did. The Great Sea in Daniel 7 is the Med Sea. Well, it is. If you're a Jew, especially an Israeli scholar, you know that the Great Sea is the Mediterranean Sea. Now, AI says, yes, you are correct. In the original text of Daniel 7, the Great Sea refers to the Mediterranean Sea. Throughout, it's not Old Testament. This is where AI will lead you astray. In Moshe and then Nevi'im, Moshe and the prophets. The term the Great Sea was a standard Hebrew and Aramaic name for the Mediterranean. Okay, all right. So I'm setting the table here, folks. You're going to start seeing some things, but it's always in reference to the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? Now, Isaiah 60. In verse 5, at the future glory of Zion, when Zion rises, the sea peoples will be overthrown when they come to invade Israel. It says so right here. But unfortunately, King James Version mistranslated it, and I say they did it deliberately so that you would not know the truth. But what I'm here to do is uncover the truth using Strong's Exhaustive Concordance and other Bible dictionaries. See and flow together. Your inner man will be in awe and be enlarged, because the roaring crowd. You see that? Hamon means the sound of the roaring crowd of the sea, the great sea, shall be not converted, overthrown. Hafak means overthrown. If you're a Jew who understands Hebrew, you know exactly what it means. To overthrow. To invert. Overthrow. Okay? when the murmuring, roaring crowd of the Mediterranean Sea will be overthrown, when their armies of the Gentiles invade. Of course, when the armies of the Mediterranean Sea, or the beast that rises out of the sea, yeah, you heard me say that correctly. When the beast that rises out of the sea is overthrown, in that era, it is the Messianic era. Okay. When the Jewish Mashiach comes. And this is when, as I pointed to you in my last video, they will be flying in the clouds like doves to the windows on ships of Tarshish, flying ships of Tarshish, aka airliners. Okay? So all this is happening in the Messianic era, when the beast that rises out of the sea is overthrown. Now, so what you're going to see here is, this is previous. This is way in the past, right here in Revelation 13. And I'll show you when. I'm going to give you a timeline. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. What sea? The Mediterranean Sea. Why? Because Yochanan was either in Greece on a prison island, or he was standing in Israel at the time. In either case, he was standing on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, and he saw a beast rise up out of that sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his 10 horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. And I explained to you what the names of blasphemy meant. Okay? Now, it says right here in verse 4, and they worshipped the drakon. In Greek, it's drakon. In Roman, it is Draco. Okay? So they did reverence to the Draco. How did they do this? Which gave power unto the beast, and they reverenced the Draco, saying, who is like unto the Draco? Who is able to make war with him? What do they mean by this? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things of blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. What 42 months? What is that? What does that all about? That was about the invasion of Judea by the Roman king Vespasian and his son Titus. It began in 66, the year 66. Now, this is very, very important. I want you to listen carefully. And the end of it was 70, the year 70. We're talking late 1st century. Listen to the term late 1st century. Now, so, once again, did Romans have dragon flags in the 1st century? Yes, but not in the form of a modern fabric flag. The 1st century, what did I say? 1st century, Roman cavalry units carried a dragon standard known as the Draco, adopted into the Roman military during the what? The late 1st century. Okay? A cast bronze or silver dragon's head with an open gaping mouth, a long tubular fabric sock or windsock attached to the back of the head. How was it used? Well, it made a hissing sound in the breeze, causing it, So this is how they, how do I say this, mentally defeated their enemies. But they reverenced the dragon. This is how they did it, folks. Now, what is late century? That is circa 70 to 100. The timeline is on point. The Flavian Dynasty Rome, following the turbulent year of the 4 emperors. The Flavian family took control of Rome in place of the Claudio Julius dynasty. So the Julio Claudius dynasty, that was the 7 heads. Then the Flavian dynasty took over, beginning with Emperor Vespasian and his sons Titus and Domitian, commissioned massive public works including the Colosseum, Arch of Titus, etc., and the destruction of Jerusalem in 70. So the destruction of Jerusalem, because the war began in 66, but the destruction of Jerusalem began at the time when they adopted the dragon as their mascot. And the Roman legions under Titus besieged and destroyed the second temple and the third temple, by the way, in Jerusalem. I've discussed this. The third temple was constructed by Herod. It's true, folks. So, you have a timeline here that it's impossible to mix up now. Now there's no excuse, folks. So, let's see. All right. And you even have, even in England to this day, the Royal Navy's Type 45 destroyer, HMS Dragon, is an air defense destroyer, blah, blah, blah. The royal mascot, a gilded mythical dragon, originally carved for the Royal Pavilion in Brighton, sits in, and then you have what secrets do. Buckingham Palace's secret dragons hold. So even the Protestant Christian royal family and the head of the church still to this day reverence the dragon. You have the Queen's Beast, the red dragon coins and bullion exchange. So what I'm concerning the UK has been a part of the Roman Empire since the Emperor Claudius. Okay? Now that you know that the Romans are the ones, Rome is the beast, or the Roman Empire, I should say, because Rome is the great whore, and along with what it calls its church. But the Roman Empire is the beast that rises out of the sea. Now, you heard it here. You learned it here. You've got dates. You've got evidence to prove it. Now, So when Yehoshua, not Jesus, and Revelation 19, and I saw the sky open, and behold, a white horse, he that it sat on was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he makes war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his heads were many crowns, and he had a name written which no one knew but he himself. The armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and out of his mouth goes a sharp sword. And with it he should smite the what? Is it the nations? Or is it the Gentiles? It's the Gentiles, folks. The Gentiles. Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. And the lexical summary, a non-Jewish entity. Okay? The Gentiles. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treads the winepress as the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty Yehovah Elohim, not God. Okay? And on his vesture he had on his thigh a name written, or a title written, you see. King of Kings and they say Lord of Lords, but is I can't remember. It's Adonai is in reference to Yehovah himself, but Adon, okay, Adon of Adons. All right, so you have to make the distinction that Adonai is in reference to Yehovah, the Abba, and Adon is in reference to the Mashiach. And I saw a messenger standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together in the supper of the great Elohim, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast, and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken. That's right, folks. This invasion, and the beast which rises out of the Mediterranean Sea, was overthrown exactly as written in Isaiah 60, right here. When because the murmuring crowd of the sea, the Mediterranean Sea, shall be overturned, overthrown, not converted, overthrown, when the forces of the Gentile invade. This is the same event. That you may eat of flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and all that sit on them. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, against his army. The beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, who wrought signs before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. What is the mark of the beast? I have shown you what the mark of the beast is many, many times. It's that mark that Christians put on their foreheads on Ash Wednesday. It's the same mark that Orthodox, mainly Coptic, but not only the Coptic, but Orthodox Christians put on their right hand or their right wrist. And them that worship his image. That's all you Sunday worshipers who bow down to that graven image. You see? So these two, that the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, of which he deceived those who receive the mark of the beast and worship his image. And these both were cast alive into a lake of burning fire with brimstone. Now, that lake of fire was still burning, smoldering, if I remember correctly, even in the early 1900s. Only lately it has gone out. And that's over there near the Dead Sea, near the it's near the Dead Sea. That's the reason why they call it a lake of fire, because there was fire burning around that particular Dead Sea. Apparently, it's going to be burning again. And these both were cast alive into the lake of burning fire with brimstone, and the rest of their armies, they were slain with the sword, with him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeds out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Enter Ezekiel 39. Verse 17, you son of man, thus says Adonai, Yehovah. It says Yehovah in this particular, it's a slightly different way of saying Yehovah. Okay, speak unto every feathered fowl and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come and gather yourselves on every side in my sacrifice that I do sacrifice to you, a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that you may eat flesh and drink blood, that you eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan. Yes, they were going to be coming and invading from the Golan Heights. Bashan is the Golan Heights, or the Golan Heights is in Bashan. And then you shall eat fat until you are full, drink blood until you are drunk, of my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you. You shall be filled at my table with horses, chariots, and with mighty men, and all men of war, says Adonai Yehovah. And I will set my glory. This is that glory that I showed you in Isaiah 66. Okay? When he sends the two witnesses to bring all sorts of plagues upon the Gentiles to bring all Israel home. But at this point in time, all Israel is home already. The two witnesses have done their work, and after the two witnesses have done their work, the beast which rises out of the sea, that would be the Roman Empire, are going to kill them out in the streets. But Israel is already returned home. But he's going to set his glory among the Gentiles, so that the Gentiles may see my judgment. So that glory he sets among the Gentiles is his judgment that he lays down upon them. It says, the judgment that I have executed and my hand that I have laid upon them. Why? So that the house of Israel shall know Yehovah, right? That's what it says. Does not say the Lord. Yehovah Elohim. From that day and forward. This is the day that the blinders will be lifted off of the eyes of Israel. How is he going to lift the blinders off of Israel? You must read carefully and you must believe carefully. By striking down Israel's enemies, the Christians and the Muslims. And the Gentiles shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore I hid my face from them, and gave them to the hand of their enemies, so they fell by the sword. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. Now, this says Adonai Yehovah, I have returned the captives of Jacob. I have had mercy upon the whole house of Israel. I am jealous for my Kodesh Shem. They bore their shame and all their trespasses that they trespassed against me when they live safely in their land, and none made them afraid. I have brought them back again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many Gentiles. And they shall know Yehovah, Elohim, caused them to be led into captivity among the Gentiles, but I have gathered them back into their own land, and I have left none of them there any more. Neither will I hide my face from them, because I have poured out my Ruach upon the house of Israel, says Adonai Yehovah. Okay? This should be very simple for you to understand. Now, if your heart is hardened and you refuse to believe this, then you may join the beast and the false prophet and their armies in judgment, on Judgment Day. That's on you. That is not on me. I have showed you texts in the Bible that you have not seen because your preachers have hid them from you because they don't want you to know. And I know some of you folks try to say that the words of the prophets don't matter anymore because the only thing that matters is the New Testament. Well, let me show you what your so-called New Testament says about that. It is in Revelation 10 and verse 7. It says, "But in the days of the voice of the seventh messenger, when he is about to sound," which means just before he is sounding, "the mystery of," not God, but Yehovah, "should be complete and fulfilled," which means what it should read is it'll be fulfilled at that time, not before. "As he declared to his servants the Nevi'im," the prophets. The prophets what? Daniel, Isaiah, Zechariah, Ezekiel, Amos, etc. So the words of the prophets do matter. And if you wonder why you do not understand these things, it's because you have rejected the words of the prophets. That's on you. And I say to each and every one of you, you need to have a 2-year food supply ready. The world is not going to be ready for what's going to happen. What's going to happen next? It's going to come as a thief in the night. It's going to be a meteor event in the Mediterranean Sea, in the abyssal zones of the Mediterranean Sea. Let me repeat. It is going to be a meteor event. It's going to stir up so much smoke and steam, it's going to cause much of the world to be in complete darkness. And 5 months later, I suspect that Russia is going to, Russia's, dead hand is what they call it. There's another name that they call it. Will be will take over. And the nuclear missiles start launching, as it says in the latter half of Revelation 9. Okay? So, for our day and a month and a year and 5 months. See, those are the only two where it mentions, out of all the seals, the shofar sounds, etc., those are the only two events that provide timelines. One says 5 months, the other one says our day and a month and a year. So why did he put timeline on there? It is so that you can prepare your food supply for that amount of time. Your food and clothing supply. That's the reason. So get ready. Do not be like the 5 foolish virgins in the parable of the 5 foolish virgins. Don't do that. Be ready. All of you.